The Indonesian rules over the land are very strict. The main goal is to protect the national land from going abroad. When you set up a company, the minimum share capital is 10 billion rupiah. Please read through the contract. At any time, the client can stop paying and he can request a refund. We're not talking about anything illegal there. I'm not big about trust. More about documents.
Investing in Bali property market might seem intimidating, but today we will show you how easy, safe and trustworthy this process can be when done in a right way. Hello everyone, my name is Tatiana and I'm a broker at Leasehold Real Estate. Today, I'm a guest at Bali Business Consulting and I'm so excited to be speaking with the leading expert at Balinese property law, Igor Zhuk. Hi Igor, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good. It's great to finally meet in person.
Pleasure is all mine. To start with, could you please tell us about Bali Business Consulting and what kind of services are you providing for investors in Bali?
Yeah, with pleasure. So Bali Business Consulting is a legal consultant firm existing in Bali and operating in Bali for the last 11 years. We're one of the oldest consulting and visa agencies on the island. So throughout the years, we accumulated an enormous knowledge about land transactions and general rules of operating business in Bali, and we're happy to share it with our clients. Right now, our main fields of work are legal due diligence, so legal support throughout the land transactions and general investments in Bali, and legal support for various businesses operating in Bali.
That's great to hear, Igor. At Leasehold Real Estate, we're so thrilled to partner with Bali Business Consulting. You know, when it comes to investing in Bali, it is so important to work with leading experts like yourself, and for us it's important to make sure our clients are in good hands. So I have a long list of questions for you from our investors. You know, nowadays, when it comes to investing in Bali, it seems intimidating for foreign investors. Could you please walk us through the key steps for our investors to ensure they have the smooth journey?
Yeah, so first step, which I ask every time, please read through the contract. The first intention of the client is just to throw the contract to their lawyer, let them deal with it, and then just sign what comes out of it. I'm not a big fan of this approach because I prefer that the transaction is as clear as possible for my client. So first step is my team, our team, and client will read through the contract, list the existing questions. From our side, we will answer what we can answer without contacting the developer. Then we will accumulate all the questions, all the proposed changes, or all the needed clarifications, and we will go to developer to address it, to discuss it, and to implement it into the agreement. So, what are the key points which we focus on? The first one is clarity of obligations, of the mutual obligations of the parties. When the client should pay, how much, what if he stops paying, and so on. What should the developer build? In which time frame? What documents should he provide at the end? So clarity of mutual obligations. That is the first point. The second point is penalties. It is always unpleasant to think about the bad outcome of any transaction, but as a legal consultant, we must. So we must arrange for penalties of each party to be as clear and as equal as possible. So for the developer, it is penalty for the delay in construction and delay in receipt of construction documents. And for the client, it's a penalty for the delay in payments. So we focus largely on that. The next key point is an exit strategy. Because again, it is unpleasant to speak about it, but it is very important to understand what is a way out of the agreement. How to cancel it, how to terminate it, how to get your money back, what is the refund policy. For example, some of the developers practice that at any time the client can stop paying and he can request a refund from which the developer will keep a set amount of penalty. The amount of penalty varies, but the main point is that if something changes drastically in the life of clients, which nowadays can be expected, it is important to have a way out. So we focus a lot on the transparency and clarity of the exit strategy. And probably last but not least is that we just analyze the compatibility of the agreement with Indonesian law. We analyze how transparent are the procedures of the handover of the unit, what are the deadlines, what should be signed during the handover, when the agreement will be signed as a notarial deed, who is paying the notary commission, and many more points, which basically are the responsibility of the legal advisor or legal consultant.
Another key question from our investors is checking the property titles. How investor can be sure that the property titles are legitimate and how they can be checked?
There are various different scenarios based on which the developers in Bali are operating. I'm sure during our today's discussion we will talk about leasehold, freehold, and so on. But if we're speaking about the title, it is always a document in a very strict notarial format, the document verified by notary, which proves the right of the developer to occupy any land and to conduct development on any land. For the leasehold, it will be a lease agreement, and for the freehold, it will be a certificate or a sale and purchase deed. So all of the documents can be checked by our team with notary who made the document. We will proofread the document, we will analyze it, and we will provide our analysis to the client.
So, since you already mentioned leasehold and the freehold, could you please tell to our investors what are the differences and what are those forms, how these forms are available to our investors?
It is correct to divide it between leasehold and freehold, but the title freehold is not exactly a correct way to call it. So many conservative lawyers, especially Balinese lawyers, will say that freehold is only a full ownership over the part of land or any object, which is not available for the foreigners. Balinese, and not even Balinese, the Indonesian rules over the land are very strict. The main goal is to protect the national land from going abroad. The agricultural law is structured in the way that the foreigner can control the land only for a set period of time. So there are two main options of how developers operate in Bali. First one is leasehold, which covers probably more than 80% of the market right now. It is a well-known instrument. So it is a well-known instrument in United Kingdom, in UAE. It is not new. It is a long-term lease agreement made by the notary, verified by the notary, and it is always based on the parameters set inside the agreement. So when we're talking about the leasehold, the main part is the quality of the agreement. That is why it is also important to involve lawyers or consultants to analyze the agreement and to understand what are you signing into. Leasehold can be acquired by virtually anyone. So any foreigner can have a long-term lease over the object in Indonesia without any real restrictions. Why people choose leasehold usually is because it provides a lot of variety to the client. It does not require a company to be registered, straightforward from the start. It does not require many additional documents or residence permits to be acquired by the investor. So that is why it is usually just an easier option. But that being said, the second option, which is called, which in market is called freehold, but for the sake of my legal colleagues, I will call it correctly. It is called, in Indonesia, it's called HGB, and it is right to build. Essentially, it is an ownership right granted to a company registered in Indonesia to occupy and build on the land for the total period of 80 years, which is divided by sections of 30, 20, and 30. I know many examples of developers working based on the HGB title. So they purchase the land from the Indonesian landowner, then they construct on it, and then they have a variety of options. They can either sell leasehold to their client, because they own the land technically for this period of time, or they can sell the land also based on the right of the HGB. In order for any of the investors to acquire such land, they need to register a company in Indonesia, which also has many levels of understanding to be implemented, because it is not an everyday or easy task. Registering a company is a serious procedure which has serious consequences, so we highly advise our client to consult with any consulting agency, can be ours, preferably ours, prior to any registration procedure.
That was actually my next question. Like registering the company, does it allow the investor to own the land?
When you're saying own, many people from any foreign jurisdiction thinks about something like the ownership right existing forever, that it will be for many generations after. It is not like that in Indonesia. As I said before, the main goal of Indonesia is to create a system where their land is protected from going abroad, from foreigners not connected to Indonesia owning land. It is a government policy, it is a protective policy. In my opinion, is in the best interests of local people and just needed to be considered as is. It is a pretty common practice in Southeast Asia, so nothing new there, to be honest. But generally speaking, it is an ownership. When you purchase an HGB land, it is an ownership, but it is an ownership for the set period of time. So during this time frame, you can use the land as a guarantee under the agreement. You can use the land to encumber it, to receive a credit line from the bank. You can sell it to Indonesian person, and Indonesian person can convert it back to hak milik title, to the full ownership title. Yes, it is ownership, but with somewhat limitations and with the need to renew this right, the HGB right, after first 30, then 20, then 30 years.
Got it. Do you think it makes sense for the investors who comes with a budget under 200, 100K US dollars to create the company over here? Does it make sense for them?
No, it doesn't. I'd be honest with you, because first of all, we are registering the companies. We're highly interested in people coming and purchasing these services from us. But we try to be on the bright side. We realize that there is a set parameter of minimum share capital in Indonesia. Essentially, it is the amount that Indonesia awaits from any individual to invest inside economy of Indonesia. The general law around the PT PMA companies is about obligation to invest inside Indonesia. They consider every foreigner trying to invest in Indonesia to be a large-scale business. So when you set up a company, the minimum share capital is 10 billion rupiah. 10 billion rupiah is equivalent of around 600,000 US dollar. And however, we understand that there is no set time frame in legislation right now about when this share capital should be paid, but according to the statements of government, according to the practice, it should always be a progression. It should show the investment plan for 3 to 5 years to reach this amount. So if person is coming just to buy one object for 150, 100, 200,000, he will be, for a long period of time, he will be in violation of laws of Indonesia. However, many consultants can say that it is quite common in this market and it is okay. We actually think that it is very important to understand the intentions of Indonesian government when they set these rules and to abide them. For the investors, for the amounts which are less than 50% from the share capital, we think the registration of the company is not a correct step.
Okay, great. It makes sense. So another tricky question comes from our investors is taxation. What are the tax obligations the foreign investor will face in Bali?
First of all, there is no easy answer to it. The tax code is very complicated. It has many different ways to count taxes, depending. Right now I'm speaking about the development procedure, the operation in Bali. There are many different ways to count taxes, and we're not talking about anything illegal there. It is just existing because Indonesia is quite young in terms of active foreign investments. And many things in Indonesian tax code are still unclear for foreigners, and there are not so many government bodies that have issued fully transparent and clear guidelines. So, to answer your question, if we're speaking about we will take the easiest percentage. Any foreign tax resident, which is not tax resident of Indonesia, has to pay tax on income in the amount of 20%. That would be the easiest way to answer it. When we're speaking about for example, income from the management company, the management company will act as a tax agent, and in this case, it will be an obligation of the management company to withhold any needed tax and to pay to the government prior to distribution to the client. It will always be so in communication between tax resident and non-tax resident. Many developers provide various alternatives for their clients, so I don't want to set an exact number because there are too many scenarios to analyze and to discuss right now. So probably the best way to understand how profitable the investment will be, what are the tax obligations, will be to receive actual advice from the consulting agency on the island or Indonesia in general, and to check, of course, the financial model of the developer to understand if the taxes are well indicated into it.
Got it. So do you think there is a way for the tax optimization, and if you can comment on that?
Tax optimization is always viewed somewhat wrong by many people. Tax optimization is not something illegal or tricky or bad. When we're calling something optimization, it means that it is a legal way to make something work more efficient. In this case, sometimes it is about the cash flow, how it will be structured, where the payment will go. For example, sometimes it's beneficial for the foreigner to come to Bali to open local bank account. There are many ways of optimizing these transactions in terms of them working more tax efficiently. But I will not comment on any ways to just simply decrease tax or not paying tax, because we are working with full correspondence of Indonesian law, and Indonesian law is pretty clear on the terms of taxes.
So another most important questions quite often asked from foreign investors: how to choose the reliable developer? It is very important for them to know. What's your opinion?
So there is no easy answer. Again, unfortunately, every project is unique. I've seen projects from the biggest developers that are for some reason very poorly documented. And I've seen projects for newly born developers, for very small projects, that are just impeccable, perfect. So to me, I'm not big about trust. More about documents side. So I prefer to just to conduct a good checking of the documents to understand the whole legal background of the developer, of the exact object. And if we're speaking about how to choose, the first question is, what is the state of the land? Is it purchased? Is it still being purchased? So it's the payment plan. Has the construction already started? Has it finished? Probably any examples of the former buildings constructed by the developer, like the history of the developer. For me, an answer is just probably a legal boring one, to check the documents.
Great, totally clear. How can investors access the previous track record of developers' previous projects? Is that possible?
Yeah, I understand the direct connection to my previous answers. So, unfortunately, there is no an open source web page where you can track the real estate projects or any project done by owners of by companies with real estate license. But in this case, probably the most valuable will be to involve a good broker agency. Mainly, brokers are the ones who work with the developers. They know their history, their past. Where do they come from? What did they do in their country, original country of origin? What are their former projects here? Actually, here probably lawyers will not help a lot because we cannot access this information directly. So yes, I will, for this purpose, I would recommend to contact a proper brokerage agency.
And finally, last but not least, how does legal representation for foreign investors help to walk through this journey?
Our main goal is to make property transaction as clear and as transparent as possible. Because we understand that it is a new market. We understand that it is an unusual market. We understand that it is an unusual legal system. And it is very scary sometimes to go into something like that. Our goal is with patience and expertise to provide any needed information for our client to understand the market, to understand the transaction mechanic, to understand the obligations of parties, the mutual obligations of parties. So yeah, I'd say that if I need to explain it in one word, it will be just clarity. That is what we try to provide to our clients.
Well, thank you very much, Igor, for your answers. It was a great pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope this interview shed light on how easy, risk-free, and trustworthy this process can be together with Legion Real Estate and Bali Business Consulting. If you are considering property investment in Bali, don't hesitate to reach out to us for more information.